very excited. Here we are again at the Global Energy Show, and I have with us Westinghouse Canada's John Gorman. And so he's going to talk to us a bit about what's going on in the nuclear space, particularly in Canada. And Westinghouse, for people who don't know the history of Westinghouse and then how we got to Westinghouse Canada, John, why don't you give us the backgrounder here? Because I love this story.
Yeah, it is a great story. And thanks, Lynn. I'm delighted to be here chatting with you, by the way. So look, folks are probably familiar with Westinghouse for reasons other than the core business that we do today. And the core business that we do today is nuclear power.
Okay.
Nuclear power. We're, in fact, the Western world's leading nuclear technology company. Our technology powers more than half of the world's nuclear power plants, and that's a lot of power plants.
That's a lot.
But the kicker here is, and I think what's most interesting to us, to Canadians, to your audience, is that Westinghouse is now 100% Canadian owned. It's an incredible story. Two energy powerhouses in the Canadian context, Brookfield, which is a financing company, one of the largest in the world, something we should be really proud of, and Cameco, based in Saskatchewan, which is the second largest exporter of uranium in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we are sitting on here in Western Canada, in Saskatchewan, on the richest mines of uranium, which of course powers nuclear in the world. And so here you have a fuel company and a financing company buying the Western world's largest nuclear company and adding it to Canada's incredible nuclear assets. I mean, we are a world leader in nuclear, and Canadian ownership is just going to allow us to do some great things for Canadians here at home and also help other countries, frankly.
So I love this story, and those of you who are listening all the time, they know that I always talk about analogies. This is how my brain works. And the analogy that I have when I first heard about this, to be honest, I remember when this acquisition happened, and this was not long after the Ukraine turmoil and everything, and really the beginning of the destabilized world. And I remember talking to my sister, who's quite a clever cookie on her own, and we were like, this is a big deal for Canadian security. So there's that. But the analogy that I like to think about with Westinghouse, because sometimes people are like, well, isn't it an American company, Canadian owned, that kind of thing. I was like, this to me, this is how I compare it. If you had, Rogers or TELUS, which are large telecoms in Canada, Canadian owned, we know about them, we're proud of them. Okay, so two company, whatever it is. And then if they were to say, you know what, we could buy Apple, right? And so Apple is well known globally as a supplier of this technology that we all need and live. If we had a chance as Canadians to buy and control Apple, would we be like, oh, well, we don't want that to be Canadian? I'd be like, that's ludicrous, right? Of course you'd want to do that. And so when we, and I say we because as Canadians now, those revenues come into Canadian taxpayers, so it does come to me. I'm going to claim ownership of it. Now that Canada owns this jewel of nuclear power, I just feel like we should be so proud of that. But am I close here? What do you think?
Yeah, we should be proud. I guess that's the big difference between just looking at your analogy here.
Okay.
I mean, Apple, a consumer product that people hold in their hands every single day. But I think for a lot of Canadians, electricity, electrons that power our homes and our businesses just come from some sort of black box, and we expect it to be there. We're not really interested in spending our weekends figuring out where the electrons are produced and how they're produced and things like that. But the fact is that nuclear is a major generator of the electrons that we use, right? And we could just choose Ontario, for example. I think most Ontarians wouldn't realize that 2 out of every 3 lights are powered by nuclear electrons.
Yeah.
Right? Canada has been a leader in producing nuclear energy for decades now, and on the world stage, we're recognized for having that sort of strength. So when Cameco and Brookfield acquired Westinghouse, you're right, it's this enormous accomplishment. It's an incredible asset to have as a country, which is going to enable us to do some very important things for Canadians in terms of providing safe and reliable and affordable electricity as we start using more and more electricity for, electric vehicles, or for the data centers that, are being built around the country and things like that. But I guess the difference is it's a little lower profile, under the radar, in terms of where that electricity comes from. So it's just another tool that Canada has to really control its future and to provide the power that people need in a reliable and safe and affordable way. So really, really reliable and safe and affordable way. So really, really pleased to be with Westinghouse and to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, the Global Energy Show here, of course, we're all of the above. And that's where we come from too. I mean, different jurisdictions have different needs. So, if nuclear is something that's available to people, then fantastic. We know that it is available in lots of countries. I think there's 440 operating nuclear power plants.
Yeah.
And how many are being built right now? Let's talk about new builds globally before we come back to Canada.
Well, there is a nuclear renaissance that is happening globally, Lynn, and I think it has come from this realization that if we want to create a secure, affordable future for ourselves, that also enables us to attract new businesses, because we've got emissions-free electricity that is affordable and abundant. It means that we're going to benefit, our economy is going to benefit, because it will give us a significant advantage over where these companies are looking to put their new businesses and manufacturing plants like that. It means that we get to participate in the powering of things like data centers. It means that we get to help Canadians move towards things that are going to make their lives more affordable and more convenient, frankly. I mean, talk to an EV owner, an electric vehicle owner. Once they've switched over to an electric vehicle, there really isn't any turning back, right? It's cheaper to operate, and they perform brilliantly. And so we're seeing this sort of expansion of our economy and of our lives to be using more and more electricity, and nuclear power is going to be a way to achieve that, while at the same time bringing a lot of great jobs and other things to the economy.
Okay, so let's talk about the jobs in the economy then, because I think that matters a lot to Canadians right now. Because to be quite honest, we're so lucky here in Canada that people don't really know what energy poverty looks like, right? So when we're right now, of course, there's a lot of chaos in the world. There's a lot of energy insecurity thanks to all the turmoil on the Straits of Hormuz and other places. And so people are looking for that stable, reliable, affordable energy. And we talked about this in another episode, that Canada's actually been able to sit back and be like, I've never thought I'm not going to have power, right? And so advancing those conversations, I feel like the nuclear conversation is advancing more rapidly in other parts of the world, because they're looking for that stable, reliable, 24/7 baseload power, and they're kind of freaking out about it. They're not freaking about nuclear. They're just I need to make sure I have power, not just today, but in the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And nuclear seems to solve a lot of problems if they have a good, reliable partner like Canada.
Yeah.
And so, but then Canada on the other side, I'll get you to pick on either part of this. We haven't felt that. The average person who I'm talking to, they can intellectually feel that, but they haven't emotionally felt it.
Right.
And it's different when you feel it emotionally, when you're pulling onto those things.
You're right.
How do you think that links into what you guys are doing at Westinghouse in terms of resolving those issues globally, maybe first of all, and then bring it back to Canada?
Well, first of all, let me just say we're so fortunate here in Canada, aren't we? I mean, we're incredibly fortunate to have this vibrant, natural resource based economy. There's other parts of the economy too, but we're so blessed with these incredible natural resources, whether it's oil and gas or uranium or critical minerals, things that we rely on every single day to power our homes and our economy and our lives. So we are protected or shielded from many of the threats and the pressures that some of these other countries are under right now, right? So I think let's just acknowledge that, and I'll come back to it, because we do, as a country, even though we're rich in these natural resources, and particularly energy-related resources. There are changes that are happening, growth that's occurring that we're going to have to keep our eye on, and our electricity grids, for example, are under strain. So we'll come back to that because you wanted to speak about the international situation. What the Russian, illegal invasion of Ukraine has demonstrated to many of our allied countries is that energy security and sufficiency is something that can't be taken for granted, right?
Absolutely.
And so there has been, and you mentioned the Strait of Hormuz, another recent example of our, oil. And again, we're protected there, right? Because Canada and our neighbors, the U.S., are so blessed with oil and gas resources that we're not feeling the effects the same way that our allied countries and many other countries are feeling it. But what the European countries and others have determined because of Russia and the Strait of Hormuz is that they need to have energy security and not be reliant on, for example, energy resources coming from Russia or they need to be self-sufficient. So I'll bring this back to nuclear. The incredible thing about nuclear is you can build it anywhere and essentially be self-sufficient for your electricity needs. And now, not only can you build nuclear, as the world has been doing for decades now, and do it safely, but you can build it in any size you want, essentially, right? If you want these big reactors, but Westinghouse also has a micro reactor that
Da Vinci or something like that.
The Evinci, which fits on the back. Yeah, you're close. Fits on the back of a truck. We've got a medium-sized one. It's like Goldilocks, large, medium, and small. And the small one, this Evinci, for example, you bring it in on a truck. It runs for 7 to 8 years without having to be refueled, right? That's energy. That's energy independence. And not only is it producing electricity, but it's producing high temperature heat, which you can use for all heating homes and businesses and all sorts of industrial processes. So the world, the reason we're seeing nuclear become such a pivotal energy resource and technology globally right now is because they realize that these can be placed anywhere in any size and be very secure and self-sufficient. So that brings us back to Canada.
Yes.
And our ownership of Westinghouse, our ownership of these 3 different technologies and the other incredible services that Westinghouse provides, our coupling with Cameco, one of the largest producers of the actual fuel in the world. And we're a trusted country, right? A trusted partner. And so the world is, as they pursue nuclear, is looking to Canada as a trusted partner who now can bring the entire ecosystem to them. And you're just getting me started, right? I mean, we've got the best regulator in the world. We have an incredible, we got an incredible supply chain here that has been the world's envy for just many 80,000 people now in our supply chain that are helping develop and support and build these nuclear technologies. So for a country that has a relatively small population, we only do a small number of things really well. Oil and gas, certainly one of those. Critical minerals shaping up to be one of those. I could go on, steel and other things, forestry, agriculture, but the nuclear is one of those things that Canada is probably the best at in the world, and we should be really excited about that.
I'm so excited. I think it's interesting too as I watch sort of all these announcements that kind of happen of like more new countries that are kind of stepping in and making these kind of different commitments. And one of the criticisms, I'm going to kind of go back and forth on this, nuclear is just like, can they build it on time and on budget? And I think one of the advantages Canada has to that, so let's kind of talk about both pieces, is because we already have this whole foundation. Do you know what I mean? Like if we've already already done all the amazing refurbishments that we've done. We've got the skilled workforce.
time and on budget.
They understand, like, there's so many of the pieces that of what we're doing that we've already done and have proven. We're not starting from the ground up, and that's a real advantage for us here. But how do we take that and make it so that nuclear? I remember hearing Eric Chassard from Bruce one time.
CEO of Bruce.
Yeah, and so CEO of Bruce, and he's like, we need to make building nuclear cheap. And he actually said cheap, and I was like, hallelujah, right?
Yeah.
Because if we could make building, if Canada can crack that code on how to make building nuclear cheap, because we already know that they have power itself, affordable, clean, reliable, environmental, economic base power. So if we can do the build part, which to kind of take that off, then like the world is our oyster.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's a pretty tough nut to crack, Don. Like, you're in the business of it.
Yeah.
Can we make it cheap?
We can make it cheap, and I'll tell you how we do that. And Eric will be the first one to point to this. It isn't nuclear that is. It isn't nuclear that is so complex that it runs into trouble with time and the amount of money, over time, over budget. That's not the issue. We have to think of nuclear as a major infrastructure project, because it is. It's a major infrastructure project. These things can take 5-7 years to build, right? You're talking about 12,000 people on site. You want to talk about jobs, that's a great thing. Imagine 12,000 people on site for 5 years building this massive infrastructure project. And we do have the skilled people who can do that, because we got a long history. We got some incredible utilities. Bruce Power, Eric Chassard, absolutely one of those. We got some great leaders, right? And I shouldn't start. I shouldn't start naming utility leaders, but we've got great ones across country. We've got a great regulator. Anyway, the point is, you can't just wait a couple of decades and decide to do a major infrastructure project of any sort, and then stop and wait a couple more decades to start again, right? Because you're having to retrain all of the workers to be good at building nuclear. You're having to fire up all sorts of project management related things that are specific to this infrastructure project. So the short answer is, nuclear can absolutely be done on time and on budget, produce really affordable power, but the secret is to lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. And that's where we're doing things right here in Canada. So you mentioned the refurbishments.
Yes.
The refurbishments, I mean, it's the largest infrastructure project that has been done in decades in Canada. $27 billion, happening over 10 years, refurbishing, I think, 10 units. Might have that wrong. Is it 8 or 10 units? I mean, major work, right? $27 billion. On time and on budget, because we are doing them sequentially, one after another. We've got all of the supply chain and the workers collaborating. We've got the regulator collaborating. We've got the utilities working together, sharing best practices. Every single unit is being done cheaper and faster, and that's why we're having such great success. So the big thing for Canada now, and we are going to do this right, Ontario is leading the way with this, is we are slated to build out 12 new large reactors.
I love this.
Yeah, 12 new large
People
reactors.
Don't know how much that is, but it's attainable.
It's big. So when I said that the biggest infrastructure project was the refurbishments, these large builds will top that, right? But we will have the ability to do them one after the other, after the other, after the other. Each one will become cheaper and faster, and we'll be able to benefit from that approach. The very last thing I'd say, Lynn, is we're also going to have some great sharing of expertise and workers between Ontario and the other provinces. We see Saskatchewan, right, with some very exciting plans to roll out new nuclear. Alberta, the same thing. New Brunswick, the same thing. And these provinces are not only going to benefit from the jobs and eventually the affordable power that comes out of that, but Alberta's going to be able to provide electrons to its neighbors, and we're going to be able to help power this entire country. It's a very exciting time.
It's like, it's just, I think I've heard, the idea of the multiplier effect, right? Like once you have a place that has this clean, affordable, reliable energy, then a lot of other people kind of go, okay, I want that. And as you say, the AI data center power build out comes on, it's going to become very attractive, and I've also heard in terms of making it cheaper, I think actually it would be, I might get these three wrong, but I think Grant Isaac at Cameco says simplify, standardize, sequence, or sequence, simplify, I don't know.
He's got the best way of categorizing things.
It's like standardize, simplify, I don't know. So I think, but same idea.
Was, lather, rinse, repeat.
Lather, that's what I mean.
He just has better,
but I like yours too, because I can remember that. And then Lisa McBride, Vernova Hitachi said, look, the fleet model. What does that mean? So you're telling me 12 and everything else, sequence, standardize, rinse, lather, repeat. I don't know that the average Canadian really knows what you're trying to say there. Like what is the advantage of doing it over and over again, besides just the same people? How does that make it cheaper?
Well, it's just like anything that you get really good at doing. You find more efficient ways to accomplish the same task that you were doing. You're able to purchase things all at the same time. You're able to share best practices between companies and between utilities and between provinces, so that people are not having to reinvent the wheel every time they go to build a new nuclear station. So I don't know, it's like imagine having a Lego set that produces a Tyrannosaurus Rex. The first time that you put it together, you're going to be, scratching your head.
Yeah.
Scratching your head.
Yeah.
By the 10th.
Or IKEA furniture.
Or IKEA furniture. That's a much.
I did Lego for an oil and gas thing, so I have to switch analogies here. IKEA furniture, you get faster at it.
I like the Tyrannosaurus.
I do too. I like the Lego kids.
No, but you're right. IKEA is a much better example of that. The first time you're banging your head.
You're like, how does this work?
Yeah.
What does this sign mean? What is this little unit for? And you do get better. And, and I think that is part of it, getting better at those pieces. And the analogy too, I think, for some of our listeners is, I know that a lot of my friends live in suburb communities where there are literally like 4 or 5 different kinds of houses. Now they can customize them a bit, but they know that their homes are cheaper because they are building the same home over and over, versus the old home that I live in, which was a full-on one of a kind. Right. I assure you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think there's a reason we've moved to those models of like trying to again standardize what this looks like. It just simplifies the decisions, and then like you said, with the IKEA furniture, you can get better at doing it. And what we would like is for Canada to be the IKEA of nuclear power. Is that what we're kind of going for here?
That works.
Yeah, we could do that as another analogy here. Okay. Canada's going to be the nuclear IKEA.
Westinghouse. Okay. We'll work on it.
Okay. People will help me out with this, but we get the idea. But what I would love to say either way, it's exciting for Canada. It's exciting for Canada that we have this full fuel cycle, that we have all these amazing technologies that are being developed in Canada, that we will be able to service the nuclear needs the world over for all the things that they need, save, I guess, weapons, which is not our lane anyway. We're like, we don't want it.
Nothing to do with that.
No one's asking for it. Yeah. So everything else beyond that, we're like, yeah, we got you. We're going to be able to do this, and you guys are a big part of it. So congratulations. Really excited to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers. Fun.